Good evening and thanks so much for tuning in to the Property Show. Over the next 60 minutes, news, developments from across the country and the best data-led expert advice on your property questions. Let's tell you what's on the show today. Will the much-awaited land acquisition bill ever see the light of the day? A special report on that as the Cabinet refers the bill to the group of ministers, saying that there are differences among several ministries. And then, of course, we'll go down to taking your questions, starting with Noida, smart home options in that city, and Manesar in the National Capital Region. So, two markets, all under 80 lakh rupees. We'll also go to Hyderabad and Bengaluru in South and evaluate some key residential projects worth your money, and a reality check of Ghaziabad, just to chart out the realty landscape of this market, as most of you have been asking us to look at some of those towns as well. The Cabinet last week and today was to discuss some of the changes that are likely to be introduced in the land bill. The changes have been made incorporating suggestions from the PMO, Planning Commission, Parliamentary Standing Committee and other ministries including Commerce and Road Transport. But once again, the Cabinet deferred the bill to a group of ministers, saying it needs further examinations. Let's first get Oinitum's views on what's the inside story. Oinitum, what's going on? I thought that the bill had been up for discussion, revised, all the suggestions incorporated. Now what?
Well, Manisha, that's right. There has been several rounds of discussions. The Cabinet had, in fact, last year in September cleared this particular bill. It was introduced in Parliament, gone to the Standing Committee. It is back again with the Rural Development Ministry following certain recommendations from the Parliamentary Standing Committee. The bill was again circulated to all the ministries, including Commerce, Urban Development, all the ministries, because that is how things work. Now, the Rural Development Ministry on 13th of August formulated the final Cabinet draft, recirculated it, and then it was listed in last week's Cabinet. It got deferred because several of the ministers, including Agriculture Minister, Commerce Minister, said that they did not get enough time to go through provisions of the bill, which is why it was deferred. It was listed again in the Cabinet today, but due to severe opposition from Congress's own ministers, including Urban Development Minister Kamal Nath, then Agriculture Minister Sharad Pawar, also Road Transport Minister CP Joshi and Power Minister Virappa Moily, the Prime Minister had to finally decide that it has to go to a group of ministers because they all had some reservation or the other regarding either the compensation and R&R package, or maybe about the inclusion of projects for which government will acquire land. So also the Commerce Minister, before leaving for Cambodia, had written a letter to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet Secretary requesting them not to take up the bill in today's Cabinet meeting because he will not be there to discuss the bill. So finally, looks like the bill is back in the back burner of the government, despite the fact that it has been a significant piece of legislation for the government. Manisha?
Only just wondering, I mean, this is pretty much a bill and you can see it for the farmers, for transparency, for their rights, for actually their rehabilitation. So what would, let's say, an urban development minister have a problem with?
Manisha, what has happened is that this particular bill talks about something called the social impact assessment, which means that it will not only take into account all the clearances that you need for land acquisition, but it will also look into the resettlement and rehabilitation issues, compensation and R&R packages for the people who will be relocated in case their land is being acquired. Their livelihood issues also need to be compensated. Now, the Urban Development Ministry's view here is that since the master plans always look into all these things, barring the compensation and R&R packages, they are not in agreement with the Rural Development Ministry when it comes to social impact assessments. Now, interestingly, this particular issue, the issue of social impact assessment, was cleared by the Cabinet during UPA 1. So, according to the Rural Development Ministry and most parts of the government, this is nothing new. So, the objection coming in from Urban Development Ministry, particularly to social impact assessment, is something interesting. Manisha?
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.